Here we go, Brownies. Here we go. Yeah, this for my dogs from the east to the west side. You rockin' brown and orange with me, baby, let's ride. Represent the land, let them know. Tell them, here we go, Brownies. Here we go. Yeah, here we go.
Oh man, the music stopped.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Here We Go Brownies podcast. It's myself, Dustin, and we are joined tonight by the wonderful Ray Prisby in Youngstown, Ohio. I'm from beautiful downtown Cleveland, Ohio. Allie was going to be able to join us tonight, but unfortunately her flights got messed up and she is heading back home to South Carolina. But at the end of the day, the big star tonight will be Stump Mitchell, former running backs coach from the Cleveland Browns, will be joining us here in about 15 minutes. But Ray, how have you been?
Oh man, great, man. I'm ready to get started. Wait a minute, he's not coming on for 15 minutes? Man, come on. Bring him in now.
So Ray, tell me, have you been working on your golf game? We got this big golf tournament. We're going to be going down to Dayton, Ohio. A lot of people don't know. Well, yeah, some people know we do this, but our friend Todd down in Dayton puts on a golf tournament. We got Hanford Dixon. We got Frank Minifield. We've got Felix and some of those guys playing in it. But have you been working on your golf game at all? I'm just curious, Ray.
Hey, I've been going to Top Golf. I've been going to Putt. I'm ready. I'm kicking butt. I'm kicking butt and taking names come Saturday.
Well, I can tell you this. I'm not very good at golf, period. I'll be the first to admit I go just for the fun, the camaraderie and hanging out with the guys. But I'm terrible at golf. But here's the great thing. It's a best ball. It's a scramble. So there can always be one weak link in the in the arsenal. And the other three people can play great. And then you just have to, just have fun and hit the ball. Keep it on the course. Is like you want to keep it on the course because at the end of the day, that's probably the most important thing when you're playing golf. You don't want it going in somebody's yard or any of that. But let's give a quick shout out to our friends over at Hartville Marketplace. Ray, we spend a lot of time down there, as you know. Maurice Hurst is going to be down there. Some of the Browns players are going to be down there and do some signings. Denzel Ward's going to be down there this weekend doing some signings. And then in July, obviously, Njoku, JOK, Joel Petonio, some of those other guys will be down there. But it's a great place to go in the summertime. It's a great place to hang out. They have the huge outdoor flea market that's already taken place, but it's just a great place. It's about an hour south of Cleveland, but just a great place to go enjoy, take in all the festivities down there. But Ray, you and I have a great time down there. I feel like we spend some of our Saturdays, we're there all day long hanging out with the Browns folks and the great people at Primetime Sports and Hartville Marketplace. So it's a lot of fun.
Lot of fun. Wait a minute. I got probably a good 15 signatures for my car down there at Hartville. So if you got a chance, got a little free time, by all means, hang out.
My question, do you have Stump Mitchell's autograph?
I do. At the High School Hall of Fame, he was gracious enough to sign it for me. Come outside and sign it for me. Well, a lot of players don't like to do that. So yeah, I really appreciate him coming, taking the time and coming outside to sign my car.
And your car, of course, is going to be down there this weekend. We're going to the golf tournament, and it'll be down there doing all those fun things. So Ray, what have you been up to this week? I know last week you joined the show, but what have you been up to this week? It's been a week since we talk offline, but what have you been doing?
Well, I've been getting ready I've been practicing on my golf game because the first time that I played, it was, like you said, it was a lot of fun, but the competitiveness in me, I just have to be better. So that's why I've been, like I said, Top Golf, Putt. I've been working on my long game, my short game. Then aside from that, I've been getting the car ready because, that's a 4-hour drive down to Dayton. So yeah, between that and then there's some car shows coming up this weekend. So it's another full weekend for me, but it's a lot of fun. So no complaints.
So Ray, I know you're a huge football guy like me, but we have to talk about this red hot, and I mean red hot, and currently best team in Major League Baseball. The Cleveland Guardians have won 7 straight games, 26th in salary out of 30 teams. I mean,
Right.
I want you to think about that. Here's a team that has a lot of young guns, and they're just killing it in baseball. What's your thoughts on this? This team is just, it's fun. I mean, as you know, I live about 5 minutes from the stadium downtown here, but they are fun to watch. They seem like they have that camaraderie, that tightness to them. They're playing loose and happy. I mean, what do you take of this?
Well, I'm always skeptical when the Guardians take off early in the, because I can remember, and I'm going back to the 70s and the 80s. I mean, we had some really good teams, or I should say, some really good first half teams. It's like the Indians / Guardians always catch on fire. But then the All-Star break, something happens and they cool off, and then it's cruise through the rest of the season. So I'm optimistically cautious with my the way I feel about them, because like I said, it's great, and like you said, they're fun to watch. They're a fun team. They haven't broken the bank on their payroll. So yeah, but again, just be careful. Temper your excitement, sir. That's all I'm gonna say.
But here's the thing: the season's almost half over now. That's the thing. We're almost at the half the season's over. Quan, the leadoff hitter, is batting nearly 400. 400. And they're saying if you go back in history of decades of players, he's in rare form right now with some of the greats. If he keeps up this pace, to your point, and keeps, but he nobody can get him out. Every time he goes up to bat, his slugging percentage, his batting average, and he's hitting the long ball too. He's got like, I think, almost 8 home runs. So you can't. He's a tough out no matter where you try to put him. You have to pitch to him, and he's just a tough out. And then, of course,
this team, I'm going to tell you, this team feels like the 95 Indians to me.
It does.
And thank God they don't have a Jose Mesa on that team. I'm sorry.
No, I will tell you.
No, I mean, I still have nightmares of Jose. 3 guys, get them out. World Series. That's all you got to do. And it didn't happen. So, but hey.
I will tell you this. This is one thing about this team, that the pitching has always been really good, and the complaint for the last few years is they don't have the hitting, right? They only have 1 or 2 guys, but now the entire team is hitting, which that's scary, right? That's why they're winning all these games, because their hitting is playing so well, and then they give it to their bullpen in the 6th inning, and then the closer comes in, and you're done. You know what I mean? So it's kind of interesting how that's kind of come about. It's just very interesting what this team has done. Obviously, the Cavaliers have a new coach. That's some other new news. We have the new coach, Hutchinson. What do you think about that? The Golden State Warriors assistant head coach coming over. I think it's, you have to always pump the brakes but I think, the Cavaliers, they're a younger team. They don't have like a big 3 superstar type. They got obviously Donovan Mitchell. He's obviously a superstar in his own right. But what do you think of the coaching hire, bringing over that? I mean, I think from a team like the Golden State Warriors, they are a team that's won multiple championships and have kind of a gold standard, no pun intended. But what do you think of the hire? Just curious.
Well, I mean, again, I don't know a whole lot about the hire, but at the same time, he comes from a winning program, and they had a great program. And I see some similarities between that Golden State team and the young Cavaliers, because even though Donovan Mitchell is the bona fide superstar, we have some up and coming guys in training, superstars in training. That's what we have. And before Mitchell got there, I liked our big 3, or I should say our superstars in training, big 3. And then with Donovan just brings along that presence that, okay, calm down, guys. We got this. So I just think that if he brings anything from Golden State with him, and I'm talking about the coach, I think they'll be great.
No, I agree. And it'll be interesting. I'm a little surprised, but maybe they wanted to do the hiring of the head coach first before they signed Donovan Mitchell, re-upped him and did his
But they had
kind
to
of
get his approval.
contract.
Come on, you already know. The superstar has to give their approval to the hire. So I'm
Yeah,
sure they played a big part in it.
it is interesting. Like in baseball's or basketball is one of those sports that's different than football, where they have to get kind of the buy-in from the superstar. Whereas
Right.
there's only a few players versus a football team that has a 55 man roster.
Right.
So it's
Right.
interesting how like, hey, what does LeBron think of the new head coach? Right? Like it's interesting how these superstars have. I think ownership has learned, and to me the NBA is such an interesting sport in itself. You have a lot of player coaches, you know what I'm saying? So it's such a
Right.
different type of league versus other games. So I don't know. It's a very interesting way that they go about hiring. But the NBA drafts tonight actually on the same time our show is, so it'll be interesting to see what the Cavs do in the first round and see where Bronny goes. He's projected to go in the second round actually. He's looked really great at his tryouts, so I know they're looking forward to that. To see, what's your prediction? Just curious. Do you think the Cavaliers make a surprise move and snatch Bronny to see if that lures LeBron James back to Cleveland?
Well, you know what? I had heard today, and I don't know if it's true, but they said the Cavs only have one pick in this whole draft.
Right.
So,
I think, yeah, because they traded away some assets. Yeah.
Right. So do they take Bronny with that one and only pick, or do they actually get some? Because to me, Bronny at the very least is a project. At the very least, he's a project. So I don't know. But here's the thing, though. Sports is now entertainment, and if the Cavs draft Bronny and LeBron comes back, dude, come on, man, that's a story. That's a great story.
That's more than a story.
Right,
I mean,
right. So if that's in the works, then I can see the possibility of the Cavaliers taking Bronny. If LeBron coming back is in the works, I can see that as a possibility.
Yeah, and to your point, I mean, you bring up a very valid point. If they really truly only have that one pick, and I didn't realize that now that I think about it, do you risk an entire draft?
Right.
Maybe on a project guy that may not be in the starting lineup immediately to win games, but does that trigger, the other thing, does that trigger a phone call from LeBron saying, can we, especially if he doesn't sign, especially if he just signs a deal that makes it so he can be traded, that's kind of the debate. What's LeBron going to sign? Is it going to be the max contract with the no trade clause, or is it going to be the contract where he has at least an out after one more year? So it's going to be interesting. And as we know, and LeBron James does everything very calculated and with purpose. He's done that his entire life. So whatever he does, he will have A, B, and C lined up, knowing what his next move is. He's been very calculated in his career, what he does, and he does it for a reason, what he does in that space. But with that said, let's go ahead and let's get this ready here. But we're excited more than anything that our next guest, Stump Mitchell, the Wizard, is going to be joining us here in just one moment. But I'm excited. I know our fans are really excited for this. But let's hear a message from our friends over at Lorello Vineyards. So just hang on one moment, and we'll hear that message from our friends over at Lorello Vineyards.
Everybody, my name's Kim Lorello, and my husband and I, Larry, started Lorello Vineyards over 21 years ago. We're a small cantina nestled in the Grand River Valley in Geneva, Ohio. Our winery consists of 2 beautiful tasting rooms, and we have 2 rooms that can transform into party rooms inside. Our menu here at Lorello's is home cooking. We have wood-fired Tuscan pizzas, paninis, salads, and several appetizers. We have award-winning wines that have won medals internationally, nationally, and locally. In the summer and springtime, we have a beautiful outdoor patio That also we have live entertainment. We also have entertainment sporadically through the entire year inside during our cool fall and winter months. Additionally, outside in the summer, we have a beautiful tent that can house several guests for a private function. We hope to see you soon, and if you want any more information on Lorello Vineyards, you can go to our website at www.lorellovineyards.com. We hope to see you soon.
All right. And with that, let's invite to the show, and excited to hear from our great friend, Stump Mitchell. Stump, how you doing?
I'm doing good, guys. How you all?
Hey, we're great. Hey, I got first and foremost, Ray brought up a great point. Do you prefer to go by Stump, Mr. Mitchell, or the Wizard for tonight?
Stump.
All right, we'll go with Stump. I was going to go with Stump. I think that's what most people do, but out of respect, we always have to ask our guests how we want to go.
Exactly.
But Stump, how the hell you been? What have you been up to?
I've been great. Back in my hometown of Kingsland, Georgia, for the most part, just getting some physical therapy on my body from all the years of mainly playing some form of football.
I was going to say, or being out in the hot, humid training camp of Cleveland, Ohio, the last 5 years. I got to tell you, we got hit with the weather here. The humidity hit Cleveland like a month early. So I've been out at those training camps. You know how they are. They wear on you. And I've been out at Brown's training camp where they called it early. You know what I'm saying? Because it was too much of a risk to the players being out there. But you know what I was going to tell you? I believe you're down in Georgia, and we probably a year ago had the honor to have Nick Chubb's dad, Henry Chubb, on the show, and he gave a great interview. So I'm just curious. I'm assuming you know Henry, and what kind of relationship do you have with Henry Chubb?
I don't really have a relationship with him. Of course, I know him because he's Nick's father. I've met him a few times, but no question, a great individual, and you can see where Nick gets it from.
Yeah, it's crazy. So when I met him, I've met him at so he goes through the tailgate before he goes to the game with Larry that owns the winery, the commercial you just saw. And he said, I come by, have a glass of wine, and then I go and give my, I see Nick down on the field, let him know I'm here at the game kind of thing. And, he said it was hard for him last year not to do that, obviously with Nick Chubb's injury. And we all were devastated with what happened to Nick Chubb, obviously, in that Pittsburgh game. And, just like every Browns fan out there, you're the biggest cheerleader for Nick Chubb. I guess my question is, have you talked to him? Where do you think he is in his rehab? And I'm a betting man. I'm not going to bet against him and see what game he comes back. And I think he's going to come back strong. But I just, you're around him a lot. You have a pretty good intimate relationship with him as a coach, and I know he respects you dearly. What's your thoughts?
Yes, I've spoken with Nick, and he's doing fabulous. I mean, this was the first time his entire career that he spent the offseason for the most part in Cleveland, and that, of course, was due to the injury that he sustained in the Pittsburgh game. He's a no-nonsense guy. He usually goes back home and coach track for his high school there at Cedartown. But he wasn't afforded to do that this past season, but he was there in Cleveland working with Joe Sheehan as far as part of the medical group there, the trainers there, and also the strength and conditioning coaches and just everybody with that medical staff did a phenomenal job in repairing Nick's injury. And, of course, Nick is going to do the hard work of putting the work in to get back where he needs to be.
Yeah, I think I love it when Coach Stefanski said, I have high maintenance players, low maintenance players, and I have no maintenance players. And that's Nick Chubb. He's going to just put his head down. If you ask for an 8-hour day, he's going to put a 10-hour day in, so he's just a hard worker. I think he's going to come back from this and, with that strong determination. And, I just think, he is the heart and soul of the football team, in my opinion. People look up to Nick Chubb. They respect him. I guess a question for me, what was one of your favorite moments that you could share with our visitors that are, watching the show from all over the country? What's one of your favorite moments that you could share that was one of your favorites with Nick Chubb?
I guess one of my favorites with Nick really was the way he started this past season against Cincinnati. And he carried that into Pittsburgh. He was averaging over 6 yards a carry. That was our goal. All you had to do was let Nick set a goal for Nick, and he's going to achieve it, but also tell him what he needed to do in order to try to make the goal come true. With him last year, for me, it was simply, we're going to pass the ball. So you got to be more effective in the passing game. You're going to get your – in the first game, I think he had 4 catches. So, of course, he had over 100 yards rushing, but he also had the receiving yards or the catches that was going to put him on pace to have a heck of a year all around. And in the second game against the Steelers, of course, he was having a phenomenal game, over 60-some yards until he got hurt early in the ball game.
Yeah, and when you think of the greatest running backs, we think of Jim Brown and some of the greats that have played in this game. Over 6 yards a game that's crazy numbers. And, when you think about an average of a career, but you look at his numbers, I think I looked, he's averaging 5.4 yards an average for his career right now. And Jim Brown was at 5.3. So he's already putting up phenomenal numbers. And you're saying like 6, that, like you said, you put a bar high and Nick's like, okay, I'm going to do it. So I think you're right. If you put it out there, Nick's going to look at that goal and be all about it. Go ahead, Ray. Go ahead with your question, Ray.
No, I was just going to chime in on what you said. Yeah, Jim Brown has held that record since he's been playing, and just the fact that 5.2 yards per game is still an NFL record, it just boggles my mind. So for somebody like Nick to come along and not only just dance around it, but just surpass it, to me, it's just amazing. I'm just glad that, because Cleveland is known for staph infection, and I was just praying, please, Nick, just don't get a staph infection, please. And he came through with flying colors. So I just can't wait for him to come back as well too.
Well, I think Joe Sheehan does a tremendous job. Those guys, Mr. Haslam, the facilities, everything is just top notch, and also the players are top notch. The coaching staff, everybody there, they're top notch organization. Unfortunately, there were some injuries that happened, but that's football. Last year, there was, your big time quarterbacks going down, and unfortunately, we were a part of that as well.
Yeah, it is kind of crazy when you look at, there was at points they showed like all these quarterbacks that have these huge contracts, like 25% of them were out, like completely out of the football game, right? Like your superstars were just on the sidelines for these NFL teams. And we all know what the Browns did, having to go through 4 quarterbacks and finally 5 quarterbacks in a season. You just don't ever expect that, or even think that you have to go through that. And as you know, you typically have to rely on the run game when it comes to that. So that's when you have to go through that many quarterbacks, the run game becomes even a bigger part, in my opinion, an important part of the football game.
Well, there you have your scouting department, Andrew Berry, Paul DiBodesto, those guys that are constantly not hoping to have to bring in somebody at either position, but know what they need to do in order to try to keep the train rolling. And the quarterbacks, especially at the end there, Joe just did a phenomenal job of raising the bar for everyone once he stepped into the locker room. The players were energized. The coaches were energized. Fans were energized. Everybody was energized. But more importantly, Joe was energized because he had the opportunity to play again, and he just did what he did.
Right. Just want to share you this with Stump. Some of the messages coming in. Coach Stump, thanks for the years in Cleveland and coaching these guys. Another comment here from Robert, a big friend of the program, says, thank you for all you did for the land, Mr. Mitchell. Hearts and prayers. So the fans love you, Stump, obviously. Question, we're looking at some of these guys, and you may not know much about this particular running back, But I'm just curious, like you bring up a good point, the scouting department and how they scour and look for guys. Do you know much about the rookie Aiden Robbins, the running back out of BYU, the rookie that the Browns ended up picking up? I'm from Idaho originally, Mountain West, Boise State, but I was just curious if you know much about this kid. He's big. He's 6'2", 237. Just curious if you know anything about this kid, the kid out of BYU.
Yeah, I think he can do pretty much anything the Browns need him to do. He can run the ball. He also can pass. I mean, the system that he's been in is sort of give you a little resemblance of what they're running or what they ran 4 years ago when I was with Cleveland. I don't know what they're running now, but
Right.
they go out and try to get guys that can fit their system. But he has great size. He could play the single back some if need be, or they don't line up in a whole lot of fullback. But if need to be a lead blocker, he can do that as well.
Right. Ray, go ahead with a question.
Well, actually, that was kind of what I was going to ask. I was going to ask Stump, who do you think with if Nick does miss a considerable amount of time, who do you think in that running back room, other than Ford, because we've seen what he can do, and I've always loved Jerome Ford. But who do you think needs to take that step forward? Because it seems like the Browns are always going to do the running back by committee thing. So who do you think, aside from Ford in that running back room, could be the number 2 guy?
I'm not really sure how they're going to do that, but what I do know is that they got the guy in Deuce. Deuce is going to do a hell of a job of those guys ready to go. Pierre did a good job. He didn't get a whole lot of reps, but Pierre Strong, he got more reps last year with the Browns than he did his first couple of years, and with the Patriots. So he stepped up when he needed to. I think he just needs to know that it's time to go. John Kelly has been around for a long time. Unfortunately, last year he did not have his best training camp. I was a little disappointed in that, but he works his butt off. But it's all going to boil down to that offensive line at the end of the day. When you're talking about averaging 6 yards, which was my goal, and I didn't think it was that much of a stretch for the simple fact I was coaching Nick Chubbs, but in front of Nick was an outstanding group of offensive linemen, tight ends, and wide receivers. Chad O'Shea had those wide receivers blocking their butts off downfield, and that's where big things happen when you can get those blocks from downfield. So, to me, it's not always the players, but at the end of the day, it relies on them. But it's the enthusiasm and the work ethic that the coach put behind those guys doing the dirty work. And for receivers blocking a dirty job, but they did a hell of a job at it. David Njoku sometimes drove guys to the sideline, and offensive were just phenomenal.
Well, I will never forget, and I think it's etched in every Cleveland Browns mind, speaking of the offensive line, that run in that Ravens game on the road where David Njoku got the ball and the entire offensive line is just pushing David Njoku down the field for those extra 8 or 10 yards was phenomenal to watch. That the team camaraderie is like, oh, I think we might need an extra 10 here to run the clock out. Let's just keep pushing David Njoku down the field. So you're right. Not to switch gears a little bit on you, but got a question, Caitlin Clark and the WNBA. I mean, talk about phenomenons and things that are happening. Have you caught any of this? You a fan, Stump? You've been watching some Caitlin Clark and WNBA, and what's your opinion on where the sport's going? Obviously, she's bringing a lot of limelight to this. She's selling out arenas for teams that aren't very good. I mean, we can think back to the Browns in the old days when they weren't winning 6 or 7 games, but we sold out the stadium. What do you take of this?
Oh, I'm loving it. Watching NCAA basketball. Now she's in the WNBA. I think everyone should be appreciative of the fact that she got the WNBA to move the needle. It doesn't matter how you move the needle, but as an athlete, you want to get paid. Long time ago, there was nobody making $400,000 for the most part when I played, not even quarterbacks.
Right.
Now that's nothing. No one on a roster base salary is just 400,000. So it doesn't matter how the bar got moved for the ladies in the WNBA. The fact of the matter is it got moved, and she was one of the main reasons why it got moved. These young ladies going from flying commercial to now flying private jets. So it's great that she's been able to do that, and instead of hate, we should appreciate it.
Well, and you're right. You like a rising tide rises all teams, right? I mean, I always say, like, you look back, trendsetters like Magic Johnson and Larry Bird. They were the trendsetters back in the day. And Magic Johnson, I think recently, and I don't want to misquote Magic Johnson, but he said, I love Reese and I love Caitlin, right? And he goes, they kind of have to mend their fences. And what he would say is Larry Bird sold out arenas, Magic Johnson sold out arenas. Reese is drawing around 4,000. Caitlin Clark's selling out places. You know what I mean? So they have to come together to rise all tides. And good sportsmanship is good, right? A little bit of rivalry. There's nothing wrong with that. But when you kind of have to let the past be the past. And like you said, for the betterment of the WNBA, what Caitlin Clark's doing is she's putting a positive look on the entire WNBA. And I will tell you, I would casually watch a WNBA game. I'm more in tune now. I watch it. I think there's a lot of people that would have never watched a game now are watching the sport. They just are. And I think you're going to see more and more of that. I know, Ray, you've watched it. I watched the women's NCAA tournament. It was here in Cleveland. Stump, this city was on fire, because Caitlin Clark was here and all the Final Four was here. And there was such a buzz in this city. You would have thought the men's Final Four was in this city. And the ticket price for a women's ticket was, I think, double what the men's was. So, I mean, what does that say? I think that says everything you need to know what that has brought to the sport. So,
well, it's no question. There's some great women playing basketball in college, especially. If Caitlin and Angel had stayed in college, I don't know if the WNBA ratings would be up as much as it is right now. Even with the great Asia Wilsons of the game, it doesn't matter. They did not pull. Nike just went out and gave her a shoe deal. But was it because of Caitlin's deal and people having issues that she got her deal? Her play hasn't slipped. It's gotten even better, but she wasn't getting the recognition. But it doesn't matter now. The light is there. Everybody feeding off of it, and that's all that matters.
I agree. Turning back to football, obviously you had the mandatory mini camp. Amari Cooper kind of said, hey, quietly, I want to get paid. I think they're still, negotiating that. Andrew Berry's made all the positive comments. He's a part of the culture here and stuff like that. Obviously, you were around Amari Cooper. He's a class act like Nick Chubb. He had his best season last year in a Browns uniform. What do you think it will take to get Amari signed, to get him to that deal that he's happy with on both sides, on the Browns side and Amari's side?
Well, I know Amari is a great individual for that locker room. He keeps guys grounded for the most part. They see him how hard he worked, whether it's in the training room or on the practice field or during games. When you don't have to say something to a player, but they feed off someone else, that makes you even a much better coach. Amari is someone that needs to be in that, be on the Browns, in my opinion. Hopefully they can come together. And Andrew, really, that's one of the best moves, in my opinion, he's made with Amari. Amari has had his best seasons there with the Browns. Chad O'Shea, a hell of a coach. I don't care who he gets in that room. He's going to produce players. And he meets them all on different grounds because each guy is different. But he find a way to get to play. The past 2 seasons for Amari in Cleveland to have more touchdowns in a single year than he'd ever had when he was in his first year or first 7 years. And then last year to have more yards than he's ever had, even though he's dealing with some issues injury-wise, but he's got Joe Sheehan and that training staff to take care of him and do the right things to get him on the field. I hope they find a way to make it happen.
Well, Stump, we have a surprise guest. I don't know if you saw who popped into our room down here below, but the guy is known for inventing the dog pound. Top Dog, Hanford Dixon's going to join the podcast, and I think he might have a couple questions for you. Look at that big smile on your face. I love it. So let's invite Top Dog, Hanford Dixon to the show.
Can you guys hear me?
Hey,
What's up, big dog?
Hey, I got to give Stump a hard time, man. You see, Dustin, y'all don't understand this, but, him and his boy Ozzy, they from that same fraternity. Omega Phi Psi, me being an alpha man, somebody had to start the whole thing for him, because they wasn't smart enough to start this thing. So we had to start it, and then they piggybacked off it. But Stump, your boy Ozzy told me to tell you hi,
Okay.
I couldn't help but give you a hard time on that one.
It's all good.
How you doing, big dog?
I'm great, man. Yourself?
Man, I am great. I had to jump on for a minute. I told Dustin when he told me you was coming on, I said I had to jump on at least just to say hi to the big dog. So I just wanted to say hi. And one quick question about Nick, man. How easy was it or how hard was it to coach Nick? I mean, not Nick. I'm Nick Chubb. Yeah.
It was easy coaching Nick because most of the things he did right, but like a lot of runners, sometimes he was a little impatient. That's why last year, starting out, that was the most patience he's had. He was averaging over 6 yards. Everything was going good. And, of course, the offensive line was playing. But Nick is a guy that never wants to see anyone working as hard or harder than him. And being behind that offensive line, both in games and also in practice, seeing those guys go every day, it was a great feeling for him. That's why it was great for him. And I'm not going to say easy, but he made it look easier than it was in terms of being successful as a runner.
Stump, I got one more for you before I get out of here because they got me all busy and jammed up tonight. But looking at that AFC North, I just think it's got to be one of the strongest divisions in football. And just give me a quick analysis of that whole AFC North, how you see pretty much every team in there coming out this year, playing this year.
No question. I think they all got better. Baltimore is no question. And, of course, the situation with the quarterbacks in Pittsburgh, they've always had defense, but now Russell really played much better last year than he had his previous couple of years in Seattle. So I think he'll be back playing pretty decent football than in Pittsburgh. And in Cincinnati, what can you say? I mean, they have some offense. Of course, they have some defense. But at the end of the day, I think the Browns are going to show them the way.
Hey, Dustin, you guys don't know this, but Stump and I, we came out the same year. We both came out in 1981. And I played 9 years. Stump, correct me if I'm wrong, I think you played 10 years. And
yes.
And I just want to say, man, congratulations to you. And it was just good chatting with you. And Dustin, can I sneak away from here?
Yeah, I was just going to say, Hanford, let's get Stump on your show, the Hanford Dixon Show, sometime with you and Gabby.
Yeah.
to get on your podcast in the future. I think that'd be fun, and I think Stump would have a fun time with that.
You got it, guys. Take care and good luck to
Sounds
you.
good. Thank you, man.
Okay.
Well, I just wanted to surprise you, Stump. How'd you like that? You didn't even know that was going to happen. Yeah, he was gonna try to come for the whole show tonight, but he had a prior engagement out in Sandusky, Ohio. As you know, former alumni, they're always being to some event, some golf outing or something. So he took a little bit of time. He wanted to come and say hi to you because he has the utmost respect for you, like a lot of fans do, and what you did in Cleveland. Speaking of a couple accolades, I want to talk about Stump. I got to spend a little time with you down in Canton. You were inducted into the National High School Hall of Fame. And then we'll get into, obviously, being inducted into the South Carolina Hall of Fame. But let's start with the National High School Hall of Fame. This is a new organization to Ohio. The second class was inducted. Tell me what you feel about that and where that's headed.
Well, I think it's great being inducted into the High School Hall of Fame. It doesn't matter where you're from. There's a possibility if you're doing some great things or have done some great things, you're going to be recognized. Not everybody know there's someone that they play with in high school that, they say that guy should have made it in the National Football League or whatever. That coaches have dedicated 40, 50 years to making guys better men and just the love of football. For me to be inducted into the Hall of Fame with guys like Dick Butkus, Coach Cooper, Eric Dickerson, Nate Burleson, who was on the Seattle team.
Eddie George,
Eddie George, Ted Ginn Jr., who was on the Cardinals team when I was coach with the Cardinals. It was just great to see some of the guys that I played against, and also a couple of guys that I had the privilege to being on a team as an assistant coach with.
Nice. And, I was doing a little research to be inducted into the South Carolina Hall of Fame. That's really cool because it kind of looks like it honors the greatest of all the players in the state, not just at Citadel or a certain college, but the fact that you were inducted in the South Carolina Hall of Fame, I thought was just amazing. Tell us about that and what that was. I think that was in April. I think that happened for you.
Yes. That was all about, and that's the Football Hall of Fame. So it's only football players from the state. At that time, Jerry Allen, who went to Clemson and played for the Redskins and the Vikings, was inducted. Ben Coates, who played for New England and also the Ravens, and also Ben coached for the Browns, I think, didn't he?
Yes, he did. Yes, you're correct. Yeah.
Harold Green played at South Carolina and was drafted by the Bengals. So it was a great evening. Mainly you're thinking Clemson and South Carolina, North Carolina, but for me being at the Citadel, having the opportunity to be enshrined or inducted into the Hall of Fame, was just an honor.
Right.
The one thing about the South Carolina Hall of Fame, in order to be inducted into that, you have to be able to attend, and I was afforded the opportunity or offered the opportunity to do it probably about 15 years ago. And I didn't do it because it was in minicamp. I didn't want to miss anything. That's just the way it was back in the day.
You were working. You were working.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So it all worked out.
Yeah, Ray, go ahead. And if you want to ask some questions about Stump's career in the NFL.
Well, I want to go back to the St. Louis Cardinals when you played, because I know you were in the backfield with one of my favorites, Otis Anderson, and I believe 85 was your breakout year. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe 85 was your breakout year when you broke the 1,000 yards mark. And as a matter of fact, it was 85 because 86, I believe, is when they traded. They said, Stump, you the man. Otis, we're going to send you to New York. But so my question is, when did you know that, hey, Stump Mitchell has finally arrived in the NFL? What was your arriving moment in your mind? Was it that 1,000-yard?
I guess really, I think it was preseason, my rookie year, returning the kickoff for a touchdown against the Chicago Bears. And then Otis Anderson during training camp. Back in the day, guys were on teams, for the most part forever. Rookies, you weren't going to automatically be on no team just because you got drafted or anything. There was 12 rounds back then. There was very little change of players from team to team. It was you play football during the season, you got a job during the off season.
Right.
The team for the most part stayed the same. So Otis Anderson, if it wasn't for Otis, I might not have made that team because Dick Jamieson was not a Stump Mitchell fan. He was a fan of those 6 guys that he had the year before. And Otis Anderson, Coach Jamieson, big fella, he can play. Let him play. Give him a chance. He said everybody's got to earn their keep. So if it wasn't for Otis Anderson vouching for me, I never would have made it on the Cardinals team. Now, eventually, Coach Jamieson, who I love, he's no longer living, but he came around to like me as well. But for me, it didn't start as a running back. It really started on special teams, returning kickoffs and returning punts.
Well, it's funny you mentioned
great work.
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned that because we've had a great friend of the program, Eric Metcalf, on several times on the show. And, his dad, Terry Mitchell, as you know, played football. And he would say, I made the Cleveland Browns find a way not have me on the field. So basically he said, you put me at running back, you put me at kickoff return, I can catch out of the backfield. And I think you were kind of that player too, to where you made it known that you had to be on the football field. And Eric said, I went into every training camp, I went into every game, kind of in the ear of the coaches, like, look, I can do this. Look, I can do that. And I think you kind of represent that from the era that you played as well. And you basically said, you're going to find a way to put me on the field because I have enough talent and I should belong out there. So I think you bring
when McCaffrey came out in the draft, I rated him as the number 1 guy. Okay. I know he was coming out with Fournette and Kamara and those guys, but McCaffrey, if you didn't want him to be the starting running back, it still didn't matter because he could be your kickoff returner. He could be your punt returner. He could be your third down guy. He was going to play. Okay, so I had him rated as the number 1 back coming out. When I was coaching in Arizona, they thought I was crazy for that. But
and now
he had the production. He had the production. Carolina ended up taking him. He had some injuries in Carolina, but he still had all those qualities to be a 3-phase guy if they wanted him to be, kick returner, punt returner, and a running back that can also be a great weapon out of the backfield, or even if you line them up, running routes from the slot.
Yeah, almost like a Swiss Army knife, right? You put him out there and he can kind of go wherever you need him to go based on what you need in the position. So I agree. So real quick, Stump, you're doing great at this. I think we need to get you on a podcast, and we got to come up with a name. We got to come up with an idea. I think this would be fun. Talking with your friend Ro, I think we should get you out here more. I think it'll be a lot of fun. And you can catch up with people and tell them what you're up to and what you're going to be doing in the future.
Sounds good.
Question. We always ask this of all of our guests. Is there anything near and dear to you, a nonprofit or anything that we can always give a shout out to that you support that's near and dear that we can let our listeners know about, that they can contribute to, or anything that's near and dear to you?
Yeah. I mean, right now, I lost quite a few of my family members to cancer. My father, my brother, my mother, my just any of the cancer organizations. I'm strong right now. I have a classmate, Picola Hamilton, that's struggling. But there's so many charitable charities that needs help because of issues that people are dealing with. So I take them all serious.
Yeah, and it's funny. It's crazy about cancer. There's so many different types of cancer, right? Like it's just not one type of cancer. You can have prostate cancer. You can have all these different kinds. So I agree. Cancer research is so huge, and the more that they can do on cancer research to find better medicines and better things to treat people that are suffering from cancer and be able to possibly beat some of these things in the future, I think is a big deal. So I agree with you. Well, Stump, this has been fun. I think I had a lot of fun. I hope you had a lot of fun. We'll love to have you back on the show sometime. Allie was a little bummed. She, by the way, Allie's a big fan of yours. She was like, I love me some Stump. So she was like, we need to get him back on sometime. So I know Allie would love to have you back on if you'd love to come back on our show.
Absolutely. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Well, and you know what? Sometimes you get a surprise guest like Camper that just pops in for 10 minutes, like out of nowhere, just to say hello. So we appreciate you.
Thank
Stump. Blessings to you. Have a great rest of your summer. And we will see you soon.
Thank you.
Yes,
I
sir.
appreciate you. I appreciate you.
All righty.
Hey, real quick. What I meant to tell you real quick, if you ever need to whip, just let me know. Just make sure you wash it and put gas in it when you bring it back.
Okay. All right, guys. Have a good one.
All right.
Thanks. Everybody, that was the famous Stump Mitchell. Ray, that was great. Ray, that was great. That was great.
It was. And then Hamper. Wait, only thing was missing was Larry.
Well, I don't know. If we brought Larry on, that could have got a little crazy.
Call Larry up and get him. Tell him we got 8 minutes.
Well, Larry's on.
Larry, come on, where you at?
Larry's on a fishing trip.
Come on, Larry. 8 minutes. Where you at, buddy? Where you at, baby?
Larry's on a fishing trip in Canada, so he's not going to be able to join us. But hey, let's give a quick shout out. That interview went long, but that's what we like. But how about let's give a shout out to our friends over at Stadium Mustard.
Stadium Mustard.
Yeah, if you don't have Stadium Mustard in your home, you are doing it wrong. By the way, this has been an iconic brand for decades in Cleveland. That's right, Stadium Mustard. You got to have it. You got to love it. Get your Stadium Mustard. By the way, if you're at the Browns games, it's right there. It's right there at every condiment stand. If you're in the grocery store in Ohio and you want it, go to the aisle and get it. If your grocery store doesn't have it, ask for it. But more importantly, you can go to stadiummustard.com. You can get it there anytime you want. And they have some merch. They have T-shirts. It's cool. I have a Stadium Mustard T-shirt. But get your Stadium Mustard, known for decades, loved by millions, stadiummustard.com. So, Ray, I got to say, that was a lot of fun. Let's give a few more shout-outs to our sponsors. I know that ran a little long, but let's give a couple more shout-outs to our sponsors. By the way, we could not do this show without our sponsors, and that is the truth. So let's give a quick shout-out. Let me go over here. And one of the things, Ray, I was talking to you about this a lot before we started the show. But my question was, Ray, are you going to Las Vegas? And he's like, I'm going to Vegas. I just got to figure out how to get my car there. So let's do a quick message from our friends at True Fan Travel. That's right, Browns fans. Are you ready to take your fandom on the road? Join True Fan Travel, official fan experience partner of the Cleveland Browns, and travel with other Browns fans like no ever. Guess what? They just put together a charter flight. That's right, a charter flight direct from Cleveland, Ohio, where you'll get to join myself, Dustin, and other Browns fans and Browns alumni as we go nonstop from Cleveland on that charter. So go visit truefantravel.com today and reserve your ultimate Browns travel package. By the way, we're trying to get that plane full for Vegas. They've already sold over 200 packages, but now they've added that charter flight, which will be super cool because, as we all know, sometimes it's a little tricky getting out of Cleveland on a nonstop flight, don't have to worry about that now. You've got that charter flight with True Fan Travel. And by the way, if you can't make it early in the season, how about New Orleans or another trip? New Orleans, another party town. Ray, we could just have a party all over the country this year as Browns fans. New Orleans, Las Vegas.
Jacksonville. Don't forget we're going to Jacksonville.
Yeah, I don't know if I can go to Jacksonville.
It's kind of early in the season.
Yeah. But speaking of sponsors, Ray, Teresa's Pizza, great sponsors of ours in Mayfield Heights, University Heights. Since 1969, Teresa's Pizza has been a household name. Teresa's Pizza. Visit them in University Heights and Mayfield Heights. By the way, we'll be giving away starting next week, guys. Look for on our page $50 gift cards. Let me say that again. $50 gift cards each week in the month of July as a celebration of Teresa's Pizza. Teresa's Pizzas, guys. It's going to be great. And Ray, least but not last, guess who also just signed on to be our official barbecue sponsor? That's right, City Barbecue, Ray. City Barbecue with 7 locations in the greater Northeast Ohio area. They're all over the country. They actually started in Columbus, Ohio, Ray. If you can believe that or not, Columbus is where they started out. But 7 locations. We're going to have some great things to talk about coming up from our great friends at City Barbecue. By the way, I got a chance to go to the one in Strongsville, Ray, and it was just like heaven, Ray. You know me, Ray. You know I love my barbecue. And they set that aluminum pan out with like the chicken and the pork and the burnt ends, and they were just all right there, just like a platter of meat. And I was like, this is like 3 meals, you guys. And he's like, John, the regional guy's like, well, yeah, you can take it home with you. And I was like, this is amazing. I get to have all this amazing meat. But we're going to do some great giveaways from those guys, but 7 locations. But, Ray, I know you're a big fan of barbecue. I know you love barbecue as well.
All day, every day.
Yeah, but we're excited to work with the guys at City Barbecue. We're going to have some really great things to announce from them. But again, 7 locations here in the greater Northeast Ohio area. But we're super excited for them to come on board, and excited for all of our sponsors, obviously, because we could not do this podcast without our great sponsors. And most importantly, we could not do it without our listeners and people that watch the show each week, not only to see me, but Allie, of course, as she's here most every week. But sometimes she has to take a break. And, I don't know if you heard this, right? She's getting married. She's got a busy year. She's getting married. She's going to get married down there in Columbus in November, and she's moving, by the way, Ray. I don't know if you've heard this. She's moving. She's got another big move. She's moving to Florida. She's moving to the panhandle of Florida. If the humidity wasn't enough for her in South Carolina, she's going to get a double dose of it down in Florida with the humidity. So, so great stuff ahead for this year, Ray. Of course, we're going to be packing our bags. We're going to be heading down to Southern Ohio to take and partake in golf and all the fun things from our friends down there, Todd with the Xenia Browns backers. And
we just need the rain to hold off.
Well, here's the thing. It rained last year. It can't rain 2 years in a row, right? That's just not fair. It can, but we don't want it to. So we're hoping the rain gods don't come over. Well, here's the thing. We don't need the rain gods for 3 hours. Let's just put it that way. 3 hours, that's all we ask for the amount of time that we're out there on the actual golf course. It can rain whenever it wants any other time because we're inside eating or having lunch. Just while we're on the course, no rain, please. Not too much to ask. Right?
Absolutely.
So, Ray, how fun was that with Stump? I really enjoyed that. That was a lot of fun. What a great guy.
Great interview, too, as well.
I'm excited to have him back on in the future. But just another shout out to Stump for joining our show tonight. Just a great time to have him on and talk and get his perspective. I think it was really interesting how he delved into, even the rookie running back from BYU that he wasn't a part of that, but to your point, he's a running backs coach. He ran as a running back. So he eats, lives, and breathes running backs, right? And he had a lot of insight even on the rookie that the Browns drafted even after his departure from the Cleveland Browns. So I thought that was very interesting. So,
Hey, Dustin, real quick, do you know if that kid has do you know what his 40 time is?
the kid at BYU, I do not. I don't. But he's 237. So he's a big kid. That's 237 is a big back.
Let's round up. He's 240.
Yeah, but 240 is a big boy.
240. That's a big boy. That is a big and man, I can imagine. Hold on, I'm gonna see if I can find his 40 time real quick for you. Let me see here. Aiden, there he goes, right there.
A guy like that, I'm assuming he went to the comp. Well, did he go to the combine, or he may have not gone?
His school could have BYU could have had a combine too. So a lot of them that don't
pro days. Yeah,
right, exactly.
So they would have clocked him probably down at BYU's pro days. That makes sense. Yeah.
Right. So yeah, I'm and not that 40 time is the end all to be all, but I'm just at that size, man. If he can move, oh my goodness.
Well, here's the thing. We all know what Tom Brady's 40 time was. And it wasn't lightning.
Hey. 6'2", 240, and he runs a 4.6.
Ooh.
That's moving.
Oh, that guy can run. Well,
I wonder what his cone time is, because that shows more quickness than it does just the 40 time. But even still, at 240 pounds and 6'2", but you know what though? Eddie George looked like he could still suit up. Remember we seen him down in Canton? I was like,
just gonna say, when I walked up to Eddie George, I was like, you could play linebacker, like the way, like
yeah. He in today's NFL, he could. You're right, because nobody wants the 6'3", 260, 270, whatever. They want fast that can hit. So yeah,
right.
He definitely.
I looked at him and I was like, man, I don't know what would have been like having you come downhill at me, but I wouldn't want that. So
right.
Ray,
yeah.
Well, Ray, as I say, it's 9:03, Ray. We even ran over tonight, so it was a pleasure, Ray, as always. Enjoyed it tonight. We had a lot of fun. Obviously, it was great. But stay safe, Ray. I'll see you tomorrow. We got a couple appointments we got to do, and then we're hitting the road.
Yes,
but
sir.
as always, stay safe. And as always, go Browns.
Go Browns. Go.